Have you ever noticed how, even when you do everything right, nothing seems to move? You meditate, set intentions, practice gratitude, yet life just watches you quietly, as if the universe can't hear you. And deep down, a voice whispers, "Maybe something's wrong with me." But what if the problem was never a lack of faith, but an invisible conditioning that taught you to be too good to manifest what you truly want? Since childhood, you were taught that love comes to those who are nice, polite, predictable. You were praised for yielding, for staying quiet, for not making waves. But the universe doesn't respond to obedience. It responds to truth. And while you keep trying to please, it doesn't know who you really are, because even you are not fully vibrating in your own frequency. Today, you'll discover why so many spiritual women block their own manifestation energy, not because they lack faith, but because they've been trained to disconnect from the body, the desire, and the voice. And when the body goes silent, the field goes silent too. The truth is, feminine spirituality doesn't bloom from perfection. It blooms from the courage to be real. So get ready. These next words aren't motivation. They're a mirror. And in that reflection, you'll see the woman you've always been, the one the world tried to make you forget. While so many women try to be everything for everyone, the universe just watches, confused. How could it respond to an energy that keeps shifting shape to please others? The good girl learned to smile when she wants to cry, to apologize for existing, to dim her light so no one feels uncomfortable. The result is a life where nothing truly manifests, because she vibrates in doubt, not in truth. Here's the harsh truth. Most women aren't blocked by lack of faith, but by too much adaptation. They believe that if they are kind enough, love and abundance will follow. But the universe doesn't respond to obedience. It responds to authenticity. When a woman reshapes her energy to be accepted, she emits a signal of self-abandonment. And the quantum field reads that signal as, "I'm not worthy." Think about the last time you said yes when your whole body screamed no. Your chest tightened, your breath shortened. That small act was a silent ritual of disconnection. Manifestation begins with frequency, and the body is the transmitter. Every time a woman ignores her own truth, the universe receives the wrong message. She'd rather belong than bloom. The good girl conditioning is subtle. It hides behind disguised compliments. You're so calm, so mature, so helpful. What looks like virtue is actually a code of domestication. The body learns that being accepted is safer than being free. This programming, repeated for generations, becomes the invisible filter that distorts every attempt to manifest. While the world praises the woman who never says enough, the universe waits for the one who dares to say, "No more." That inner shift marks the vibrational turning point. When she finally chooses truth, even if it looks selfish, the field reorganizes instantly. Because the universe only recognizes one signature: coherence between soul, emotion, and action. That's why so many spiritual practices seem to fail. Positive affirmations can't override a body stuck in denial. Meditation won't realign a field that vibrates guilt. She may chant mantras, burn incense, align crystals. But if her energy whispers, "I can't upset anyone," nothing flows. The vibration before the words already set the outcome. Here's what few people realize. The universe doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. The good girl says, "I want to thrive," but her body vibrates, "I'm afraid to be judged." And the field never gets it wrong. It simply mirrors what's being broadcast. The first step isn't asking for more. It's releasing what you were never meant to be. Perhaps the greatest act of faith a woman can practice is this: disappointing those who expected her to stay small. Because that's the moment the universe finally recognizes her. When she drops the mask of forced sweetness, reality starts listening. And right there, the good girl begins to die. and the authentic woman awakens. The birth of the good girl didn't happen in a single day. It was carefully cultivated, in school, at home, in church, in the quiet approval that came with being well-behaved. From an early age, girls are praised when they repress emotions and punished when they dare to be intense. They learn that love arrives when they please and disappears when they express. The body, seeking safety, learns to survive through compliance. This is where the nervous system begins to reshape itself. The heart beats with fear of rejection, the throat tightens to swallow truth, and the womb contracts to avoid causing discomfort. Every part of the woman learns to self-edit. This is the first vibrational fracture, when the body stops being the voice of the soul and becomes the mask of acceptance. Many grown women are still trapped in this childhood script. They say yes to their boss, their partner, their family, not out of love, but out of fear. A fear with a familiar scent. The fear of being labeled difficult, ungrateful, or selfish. Deep down, the good girl believes love is a prize that must be earned through effort and pleasantness. Think of that woman who helps everyone but never asks for help. Who gives compliments easily but feels guilty receiving them. Who smiles even when exhausted. That's the reflection of the original conditioning. A body that learned to survive by being useful, not by being free. She believes she must serve to deserve to exist. But every emotional obedience carries a vibrational cost. The energy field of someone who lives to please begins to emit confusion. On one side, the longing to be authentic. On the other, the fear of losing love. And the universe, which only responds to coherence, remains silent. It doesn't know which frequency to follow, truth or disguise. The good girl is born when the feminine is trained to contain her creative fire. She learns that anger is ugly, sensuality is dangerous, and power is arrogance. So she grows up believing her nature must be tamed, not celebrated. This belief seeps into everything: relationships, career, spirituality. The fear of going too far becomes the brake that keeps her small. But the beautiful truth is that anything learned can be rewritten. The first step is awareness. Ask yourself, when did I first learn that love meant staying silent? The moment you recall it, something shifts, because the body never forgets, but it can relearn how to trust its own truth. And right there, between the fear of disappointing and the yearning for freedom, begins the next chapter of this journey, understanding the ancestral inheritance of sacrifice that shaped generations of women. For millennia, the feminine has been trained to serve, not only the home, but the expectations of a world that feared her creative power. Ancient stories glorified women who sacrificed themselves and erased those who dared to choose. The caretakers were saints. The desiring ones were dangerous. And so, generation after generation, the female DNA recorded the belief that love means self-abandonment. Patriarchal inheritance is not just cultural, it's biological. Epigenetic studies show that collective trauma can be passed down for up to 7 generations. This means guilt, fear, and submission can live in a woman's body even if she's never personally experienced them. She doesn't know why she feels the need to apologize for existing. She just feels it. This sacrifice pattern manifests in subtle ways. The woman who prioritizes everyone else's comfort. The professional who overworks to prove her worth. The mother who feels guilty for wanting time alone. They all carry the same ancient code. If I erase myself, I'll be loved. It's an old spell disguised as virtue. But the universe doesn't reward self-denial. It responds to truth. A woman who lives only for others loses her magnetic axis of creation. And without that axis, there is no manifestation field. It's like trying to light a candle with a wet wick. The intention is noble, but the energy can't sustain the fire. This inheritance also shaped feminine spirituality. For centuries, The archetype of the saint replaced that of the goddess. Women were taught to pray upward, not inward. The divine connection was outsourced to male intermediaries, the priest, the guru, the master. And so the feminine forgot. She herself was the altar. Consider this symbolism. Mary, the compassionate mother, is revered, but Mary Magdalene, the free woman, was condemned. This archetypal split created an internal dilemma that still paralyzes many spiritual women. The fear of being pure or powerful, but never both. And until that duality is healed, manifestation remains fragmented. Breaking this cycle isn't rebellion, it's remembrance. It's returning to the original frequency before domestication and whispering, "I am sacred when I choose myself." That's the beginning of lineage healing. When a woman honors her desire without guilt, she heals all who came before and clears the path for all who will come after. And it's right at this turning point, where inheritance meets awareness, that the next invisible obstacle emerges: guilt. The one that creeps in every time the feminine dares to expand. Guilt is the oldest energetic leash ever placed upon the feminine. Invisible but powerful, it tames even the freest of souls. Whenever a woman starts to want more love, more pleasure, more wealth, more rest, guilt arrives disguised as awareness. Do I really deserve this? Am I being selfish? Am I losing my spiritual path? These questions don't come from the soul. They come from conditioning. The collective unconscious associates feminine desire with danger. For centuries, women were punished for wanting, burned, exiled, humiliated. That memory still lives in their cells. So every time a woman dares to expand, her body flinches. It's not logical. It's ancestral. It's the DNA trying to protect her from a fire that no longer burns, but once did. Guilt shows up in subtle ways. When she feels bad for charging what she's worth, when she hesitates to say no, when she apologizes for being tired. These are tiny acts of vibrational self-erasure. Every sorry for bothering tells the universe, "I'll hide to be accepted." And the field obeys, because it doesn't respond to intention. It responds to frequency. Guilt also wears a spiritual disguise. It hides behind false humility. I'm only here to serve. It's not for me, it's for others. That sounds noble, but it's dangerous. Because if a woman believes that being light means dimming herself, she becomes the shadow of her own brilliance. The universe doesn't need servants. It needs conscious co-creators. It's fascinating to notice. Men rarely feel guilty for wanting to prosper, but women, even awakened ones, still self-censor. They feel guilty for working less, guilty for working too much, guilty for resting, guilty for feeling pleasure. Guilt has become the distorted mirror through which they measure worth. And no mirror like that shows the truth. To break this cycle, guilt must be seen for what it is: a false alarm. When the body contracts in the face of pleasure or expansion, it's not sin, it's rewiring. The nervous system is adjusting to a new frequency of worthiness. And yes, it hurts. It's the vibrational birth of a new identity. Here's a simple practice. Whenever guilt arises, say aloud, "It's just an old echo, not me." Take a deep breath and let the body soften. Each conscious breath is a micro-liberation. Slowly, the body remembers that pleasure is safe, success is sacred, and abundance is natural. That's the new code the universe understands. And as guilt dissolves, something miraculous happens. The body awakens. It stops being a suppressed territory and becomes a living channel of creation again. And that's exactly where we step next, into the sacred body, the true vessel of manifestation. The female body was the first territory ever colonized. Before women were taught to obey, their bodies were already tamed, covered, contained, silenced. The message was clear: be seen, but not felt. Over time, This repression turned into vibrational numbness. The body, once a temple of creation, became a prisoner of control. The result? Women disconnected from their inner compass. When the body is repressed, desire loses its voice. Intuition weakens, emotions blur, and pleasure turns into performance. That's why so many women feel something's off, even when doing everything right. The body always knows when it's being ignored. It speaks through tension, cramps, fatigue, and disconnection. Every symptom is a message, a call back home. The field of manifestation begins in the body. Bruce Lipton and the HeartMath Institute show that the heart and womb generate electromagnetic fields powerful enough to influence reality. But for that to happen, the body must be available, present, relaxed, alive. A tense body can't manifest. It only survives. And survival is the lowest frequency there is. Think about the last time you tried to think positive while exhausted. The mind said, "It'll be fine," but your chest was tight. The universe doesn't respond to words. It responds to coherence. If the body vibrates fear, no affirmation can override it. The first step isn't to think differently. It's to feel truthfully. The repression of the female body is both sexual and spiritual. For centuries, women were told pleasure was sin, that the sacred lived above, not within. But the body is the first temple. It's where spirit becomes matter. To repress the body is to interrupt the flow of life. A woman disconnected from her body is a priestess without an altar. That's why embodiment practices are essential for vibrational healing. Dancing without choreography, breathing consciously, touching the womb, crying until the body softens. These simple acts return power to the body and reawaken its natural magnetism. The feminine doesn't need to create energy. She needs to remove what blocks her divine flow. Many women try to manifest from the mind, when the true portal of creation lies in the womb. The body is a silent oracle. It knows timing beyond logic. It feels before it knows, moves before it understands. It's the body that whispers, "now," and the universe listens. To hear the body is to remember the language of creation. And when that body, once suppressed, begins to pulse with freedom again, something awakens. The voice. Because it's impossible to silence the body without also silencing the soul. And it's right there, in that rebirth, that we step into the next chapter. The trauma of the silenced voice. There's a kind of pain that doesn't scream. It accumulates. It lives between what a woman wanted to say and what she was allowed to say. Between the scream stuck in her throat and the smile plastered on her face. This is the trauma of the silenced voice. The feminine was conditioned to measure every word, to speak softly, to never sound too much. And so silence became virtue, but it's a silence that sickens. From childhood, women are trained to self-moderate. Speak softly, don't cry, be polite. Over time, they learn to translate anger into kindness and frustration into diplomacy. But the body never lies. Every swallowed emotion turns into tension, neck pain, throat tightness, acid reflux, physical symptoms of unspoken truth. The repressed voice doesn't disappear. It hides in the body. This goes deeper than most imagine. In the energetic system, the throat chakra connects the heart to the mind. When blocked, it breaks the bridge between feeling and expression. She feels everything but can't articulate it. It's like living with a full heart and a sewn mouth. That vibrational incoherence halts the flow of manifestation. Think about the last time you stayed silent to avoid conflict. Outwardly, it looked peaceful. Inwardly, your body trembled. That's the cost of conditioning. The nervous system learned that silence equals safety. So even in harmless situations, the body reacts as if danger were near. The fear is inherited, but courage can be trained. Reclaiming the voice is a spiritual act. It's not about volume, it's about truth. It's looking in the mirror and allowing your frequency to be heard without asking permission. saying no with love, yes with wholeness, enough with clarity. When a woman speaks from her soul, the universe listens, because every truthful word is a vibrational prayer. Here's a simple but powerful practice. Write what you never said. Grab a pen and paper and let it pour out, uncensored. Cry, shout, tear the page if you need to. The goal is liberation, not perfection. Afterward, something shifts. The body softens, the mind clears, the frequency rises. The woman feels lighter, and the field responds instantly. Healing the trauma of the silenced voice isn't about revenge. It's about reconciliation. It's giving yourself permission to speak without fearing you'll lose love. Because true love is never offended by truth. Silence may have been necessary to survive, but now, it's time to live. And living requires sound. And when that voice awakens, something even deeper begins. The woman starts freeing herself from the most deceptive prison of all, perfectionism. Perfectionism is the golden cage of the modern feminine. It looks like virtue but smells of fear. A woman believes that if she does everything perfectly, if she's the ideal partner, the flawless professional, the impeccable mother, she'll finally be loved, respected, recognized. But the universe doesn't respond to merit. It responds to frequency, and exhaustion is the furthest vibration from manifestation. Perfection is the most elegant disguise of fear. Beneath it lies an old wound, rejection. The good girl learned early that love was a reward for performance. That rest had to be earned. That she was only worthy when nothing was wrong. This logic programmed generations of women to seek approval, not fulfillment. Perfectionism is a form of spiritual control. It tries to prevent judgment from others and from the self. But control is the opposite of creation. The universe doesn't respond to control. It responds to flow. While a woman tries to choreograph every step, the field waits for her to dance. It's in the improvisation that the feminine reconnects with the divine. Think of how many times you postponed a dream because it wasn't ready, or hid your work because it could be better. That endless postponement is a subtle spell that keeps abundance at arm's length. Life doesn't reward perfection. It rewards movement. The universe can only amplify what exists, not what's delayed. Perfectionism is also draining because it creates constant inner noise. I should be better. It's an energetic war within the self. A woman prays for trust, but vibrates self-judgment, pressure, and guilt. This incoherence blocks the creative flow. It's like trying to channel light through a fractured wire. Healing perfectionism requires vulnerability. It's allowing yourself to be seen in process, in learning, in imperfection. It's realizing that the divine manifests even through cracks, pauses, and cloudy days. When a woman softens her grip, life finds room to surprise her. What once was effort becomes synchronicity. Here's a simple practice. Whenever the impulse to perfect arises, pause and ask, is this coming from love or fear? If it's fear, let go. If it's love, move. This simple question turns off the autopilot of self-demand. Gradually, the field realigns to the vibration of ease, the natural state of the creative feminine. And in that surrendered space, something ancient reawakens. The desire. The original magnetic force of feminine manifestation. Desire is not sin, it's direction. It is the vibrational compass of the feminine soul, the first creative spark. But the good girl was taught to distrust it. She learned to want less so she wouldn't look greedy, to hold back so she wouldn't be judged, to mistake humility for limitation. And so, she loses touch with the magnetic force that turns thought into reality. A woman disconnected from desire lives in her mind. She rationalizes, plans, visualizes, but she doesn't feel. The vibration of desire doesn't come from the head. It's born in the womb. It's a warm, intuitive current that moves the field before any action does. When this energy is repressed, manifestation weakens. It's like trying to create fire without heat. Disconnection from desire also leads to spiritual apathy. She prays, affirms, meditates, but without pulse. Everything becomes mechanical, a checklist, not a current. And the universe, which responds to passion, senses the absence of life. The lack of desire is the lack of vitality, because to desire is to declare, I still believe it's possible. It's the antidote to cynicism and vibrational fatigue. Many women confuse desire with need. They think wanting means lacking. But true desire arises from wholeness. It's the soul expanding, not the ego compensating. When a woman allows herself to want without guilt, she tells the universe, I'm ready for more. And the universe replies, then let it be so. Repressing desire is, at its core, fear of rejection. Because to desire is to expose oneself. It's to show hunger, longing, vulnerability. And for centuries, that was dangerous for women who were punished for feeling too much. But there's no manifestation without vibrational exposure. The field only responds to those who dare to be fully seen, including in their wanting. A simple yet powerful practice. Ask yourself daily, what does my body want today? Not the mind, not the task list. The body. Sometimes it wants silence, other times, movement, color, touch, boldness. Following small desires reactivates the natural current of creation. The universe first tests coherence in the small, before expanding the grand. When a woman allows herself to desire freely, something shifts. Her eyes regain sparkle, her body warms, her magnetism returns. Because desire is the spark that reignites the field. It doesn't need to be explained, only felt, honored, lived. Manifestation begins when feeling precedes sight, and as desire begins to pulse again, the good girl archetype starts to dissolve. A new woman emerges, not submissive, not rebellious, but whole. And from that energy, the reprogramming begins. Reprogramming the good girl archetype isn't about destroying something, it's about uninstalling what was never truly yours. What we call healing is really vibrational unlearning, a return to your soul's original frequency before conditioning took hold. The goal isn't to become the opposite of what you were taught, but to find the truth between the fear of displeasing and the joy of existing. This reprogramming doesn't happen through words alone, but through presence. Every time a woman chooses herself, even while trembling, she sends a new signal to the field. That's how vibration rewrites itself. There is no affirmation more powerful than a coherent no. Every no that comes from truth creates room for an aligned yes. One of the keys lies in the body. It stores every vibrational memory, and it's through the body that the unconscious is reprogrammed. That's why breathwork, free movement, and self-touch are sacred tools. When a woman breathes deeply and moves without guilt, she reactivates her creative axis. It's like reconnecting the wire between matter and spirit. Writing is another powerful portal. Writing what was never said, rereading pain, turning memory into wisdom. Writing is emotional alchemy. It turns shadow into light, pain into awareness. A simple daily practice. Write, today I choose, and complete it with something that aligns your heart, mind, and body. This trains the field toward coherence. The voice, too, is medicine. Speaking truth, even if the voice still shakes. Singing, praying aloud, chanting mantras, declaring intentions. The vibration of one's own voice is a sound beam that realigns the field. When a woman speaks her truth, the universe listens, not to the volume, but to the coherence. Word is spell, and the verb creates. But true reprogramming requires gentleness. The good girl feeds on self-criticism. The authentic woman blossoms through self-compassion. Forgive yourself for believing the lies that once kept you safe. Those beliefs weren't mistakes. They were survival codes. Now they've served their purpose. Let them go with love. In time, she realizes that reprogramming doesn't make her someone new. It makes her natural again. She sees that to prosper, to feel pleasure, and to live with ease doesn't make her less spiritual, but more whole. The sacred doesn't live in denial. It lives in coherence between what she feels, thinks, and vibrates. And once this new code settles, something profound unfolds. A new kind of spirituality, embodied, grounded, feminine. The new feminine spirituality doesn't fit in temples, dogmas, or performances. It's born in the body, blossoms in the soul, and expresses through daily life. It doesn't demand perfection. It demands presence. It knows that light and shadow aren't enemies, but rhythms of the same dance. The awakened woman doesn't try to eliminate her contradictions. She turns them into vibrational wisdom. For centuries, women were taught to ascend, as if God were above, not within. But now, the spiritual woman descends, back into her body, her instincts, her earth. She understands that the divine isn't escape, it's embodiment. The sacred isn't found in denying pleasure, but in sanctifying it. She realizes that prayer is also cooking with love, breathing with awareness, and choosing from the heart. This new spirituality isn't quiet, it vibrates. It lives in loud laughter, honest tears, and honored cycles. The awakened woman doesn't split herself between spiritual and human, strong and soft. She knows she can be everything, because the sacred is wholeness. And the more whole she allows herself to be, the more magnetic she becomes. The old woman sought redemption. The new one seeks coherence. She doesn't want to be saved. She wants to remember. Because remembrance is healing. It's a reconnection to her original frequency, where abundance, pleasure, and purpose coexist. That's why when a woman realigns with her truth, prosperity stops being a goal and becomes a natural consequence of her vibration. To her, spirituality isn't about perfect mantras. It's about conscious action. It's self-observation without punishment. It's recognizing when ego takes the wheel and gently returning to center. The true practice is the constant return to presence. The altar is the body. The mantra is the breath. The offering is authenticity. The woman living this spirituality knows that every emotion is a prayer, and every cycle a portal. When she bleeds, she releases what's complete. When she ovulates, she creates. When she's silent, she listens. When she speaks, she manifests. It's the feminine restoring its inner liturgy, a sacred religion of soul and nature. The beauty of this new spirituality is that it competes with no one. It's not hierarchical, it's circular. Every awakened woman expands the field for all others. There's no competition for light, because light, when shared, multiplies. This is true vibrational sisterhood, women reminding one another of the power of being fully themselves. And in this reconnection, the final archetype emerges, the free woman. She manifests not because she tries to control life, but because she vibrates in harmony with it. The good girl manifests little because she's always trying to get it right. She measures her words, controls her emotions, edits her desires, believing the universe rewards effort. But the universe doesn't want your effort. It wants your frequency. It doesn't align with perfection, but with truth. The more she tries to be right, the further she drifts from the reality she longs for. The free woman, on the other hand, doesn't try to deserve. She simply vibrates. She's learned that magnetism comes from coherence, and coherence isn't rigidity. It's wholeness. When she feels pleasure, the field expands. When she cries without shame, the field clears. When she speaks her truth, the field recognizes her. The universe responds to energetic honesty, not idealized performance. That's the beauty of the new feminine consciousness. Realizing manifestation isn't control. It's permission. Permission for the soul to inhabit the body, for the body to express the soul, and for pleasure to bridge the two. A woman who lives this way becomes a channel. She doesn't force the flow, she directs it. And everything resonant with her starts to arrive, effortlessly. The liberation of the good girl is also the liberation of humanity. Because when a woman allows herself to desire without guilt, to speak without fear, to feel without shame, the world's frequency changes. She becomes a living example of a new spirituality, one that doesn't escape the world but transforms it by vibrating truth and love. Feminine spirituality isn't about rising above life, but diving into it with awareness. Every relationship becomes a mirror, every challenge a teacher, every cycle a ritual. The awakened woman knows there's no path separate from the divine. The path is the divine, and the more she flows, the more the universe rearranges around her coherence. So now the work is simple. Remember. Remember who you were before the world told you who to be. Remember your voice as prayer, your body as altar, your desire as compass. Remember that the woman you're striving to become already exists. She's just buried beneath layers of fear, guilt, and conditioning ready to fall away. And when they fall, what remains is light, not a distant or ethereal light, but a living, human one, shining even through imperfection. That is the free woman, not perfect, but present, not controlled, but conscious. She has nothing to prove, only to be. And being, in its purest form, is the most powerful act of manifestation that exists. The universe doesn't need you to be good. It needs you to be true, because it's in your truth, raw, radiant, and whole, that it recognizes itself and conspires in your favor. Perhaps the greatest miracle isn't manifesting something new. It's remembering who you already are. Every time a woman releases the good girl mask and chooses truth, the universe rearranges itself. Because truth has a frequency that can't be ignored. It cuts through fear, resistance, and judgment. It's the vibration of creation in its purest form. Nothing changes outside until it shifts within. No technique can replace an aligned soul. Manifestation is simple. It's wholeness embodied. When a woman returns to herself, the world starts to flow in her favor. Opportunities appear, synchronicities multiply, doors open. Not because she asked, but because she became the vibration the universe recognizes as truth. So here's the invitation. Stop trying to be good. Be whole. Speak what you feel. Choose what expands you. Honor the body you live in and the soul that moves through you. The universe doesn't want your polished version. It wants your living frequency. That's when life becomes sacred. When the divine finally finds a home within you. Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe deeply. Feel your heartbeat. That's the sound of the universe inside you. Each beat whispers, "You are the field, not the seeker." The power isn't out there. It's pulsing now. That pulse creates worlds, heals stories, transforms timelines. So start today. Choose one small truth and live by it. Speak one truth, even if your voice shakes. Take one step, even if the ground feels uncertain. Manifestation doesn't begin in the future. It begins the moment you allow yourself to be real. And the universe, grateful, whispers back, "Welcome home." If this message resonated with you, remember, you're not alone in this awakening. Share this video with another woman who needs to remember her power. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and keep walking this path of feminine manifestation and sacred remembrance. The world needs your frequency, and it begins now.